we are, as you know, just past the second year anniversary of the Abraham Accords. And the Abraham Accords at its core is an agreement, a regional agreement, regional partnerships that first and foremost will make people's lives better. And I don't think there's any sector that can bring that about and can express including and making people's lives better than the health sector. In April 2021, an agreement was signed between the ministers of health of Israel and the UAE for different collaborations. At the time, we were all stuck in the COVID. So it was vaccine collaboration, research collaboration, digital health, AI, etc. And so the governments signed that agreement, but it has been the grassroots and the different medical organizations that have taken that forward. For example, I know that Tel HaShomer Hospital signed agreements in Bahrain, and I know that Maccabi, who we have representation today, have also signed agreements recently. And so we see that this could be a very fruitful area of collaboration for our countries, for the Abraham Accords in general, but as I mentioned right at the beginning, most importantly, improving people's lives. And today, I'm very proud to say we have an incredible panel of experts, of people leading in the fields, leaders on all sides from the countries represented and the organizations represented, which we will introduce in a minute, to talk about it, to talk about which areas of collaboration, what are the challenges, where are the opportunities, and how we can move this forward. And so before we start our webinar event, we are very honored to have here Aviad Tamir with us. Aviad serves as the head of Israel's economic and trade mission to the UAE. He has background also in healthcare and technology industries and is doing a stellar job in a very short time that he's been there already in creating many fruitful collaborations for Israel and the UAE. So Aviad, we would be honored if you open the event with a few words.
Thank you, Fleur. You know, I'm back-to-back meeting in a conference room in Dubai. So I was trying to find a better angle than the eagle here in the back. But this is not.
I think the eagle is great. The eagle is great.
This is not my office, but you know I like it. I was trying every place in the I was trying to find here. It was another animal in the background. So this is the best I found. First of all, I'm glad to be part of this event. I think what the UAE-Israeli Business Council is doing is amazing. It's we need as many more organizations like yourself that creating a platform for dialogue and doing the P2P and taking the people to people to business. So we are 2 years after the Abraham Accord, and I think that the trade between the countries is growing. I'm not going to talk about a trade. I think trade in numbers is a byproduct. It's a byproduct of collaboration. When I'm looking at the healthcare, I think the potential is, first of all, we are similar. We're similar in a way that we are looking for. We have the similar unmet needs. If you're looking at diabetes, obesity, genetic disease, cancer, all of these things that that Israel has expertise in development. Even if it's a preclinical and clinical, you hear top expert after, and people who already made it. And Galit is a great example with what Maccabi is doing, and also Gal and Hadassah in Tel HaShomer. And I think there is a big potential in collaboration. When I'm looking commercially about the companies want to enter the UAE, first of all, they need to be ready for a long journey. This is not a place for a shortcut. They're not going to come people with bags of money. They're just looking for a product. There is 20 years of companies here, international, from Europe, from US. So nobody's waiting for us. So So first of all, I think try to come with a humble perspective and try to understand that you have very, very big competition. And this market, it's very price sensitive. They want the quality for sure, but it's also about the pricing. If your product is premium but you have other products and the gap is too big, they will not acquire this for you. I think you need to understand when you come to market a product, find the right partners, understand first of all what is the unmet needs, what they need, then understand the reimbursement model with the insurance company, with the healthcare providers, find the right KOL, key opinion leaders. It's very important a lot of time, and Gal know it because this is what he's doing a lot. It's find the top expert doctors in genetics or in specific person or pancreatitis that dealing with this, understand what is needed. Because it's similar to what you have in the US. You know, when you want to sell something and you want to go to procurement, first of all, you want the person, the clinician is interested in your products, that you bring a solution that they don't have in already in the market. So it's important also to talk with the clinicians, to talk with the procurement managers, to understand what is the reimbursement model. And of course, I think we're going to have also, I think Professor Richter also will talk later on about the innovation in Abu Dhabi and how I think the government and the Department of Health in Abu Dhabi can help and facilitate with the companies. But I think if I need to talk about my 2 cents, and I want to really bring the floors to the expert here, it's about be ready with a longer journey. Be ready also to invest. You know, sometimes if we talked about OTC products, you need to invest money in market access activity. It's not about I'm bringing my product and that's it, you know, they will take it. You need also to invest money in your presence in the market, in the branding, in activity, in frequent, you know, traveling or setting up a branch. So be ready to invest, be ready for a marathon. But if you look not just west, if you look east, if you see the UAE as a gateway to the east, then you will be rewarded. Then you have a big potential because really the UAE is a gate for bigger market than just the UAE. Thank you.
Aviad, I think, thank you so much for your words. And I think your general advice, I think, is actually applies to the health sector, but applies in general to Israelis doing business from any vertical. Wise words, you're on the ground. You know that it's all about building relationships. And I think that if we've learned something in the last 2 years, is that this is not a 2-week business that you come in, you sign a deal and you go out, you build trust, you learn about the needs, you listen to each other, and that's how things finally get done. I'm going to introduce now our panel of speakers, specialists, guests, and I'm very excited by the people that we have here. Some people can also already talk about collaborations that they've started, they've initiated, and are ongoing with UAE Departments of Health and Bahrain as well. So firstly, we've got with us Galit Perez who's the head of clinical research in the Institute for Health Research and Innovation, KSM from Maccabi Healthcare Services, which is the biggest, I shouldn't say that, I'm not with them, but it is the biggest HMO in Israel. Forgive me, Galit, in Jerusalem, but you guys definitely have it going on when it comes to innovation research. I will give you that. We also have from Abu Dhabi, we're very lucky to have Dr. Dirk Richter, who is the senior advisor and the director of health sector innovation with the Abu Dhabi Department of Health, and of course, associate professor of surgery. Thank you so much for being with us, Dr. Richter. We have from my very own town, Jerusalem, we're very lucky to have with us 2 representatives from Hadassah Hospital, which is not just one of the biggest employers of the city of Jerusalem, but one of the best and most advanced research hospitals in the country, in Israel. We have with us, we're very lucky to have with us Professor Yoram Weiss, who is the Director General of the Hadassah Medical Organization. He's been with Hadassah for many, many years, has served in many, many senior roles, and we're very lucky to have him in our city. and in our country. And along with him, my old friend, because we used to work together many moons ago, Mr. Jorge Diener, who is the executive director of Hadassah International, which is the international arm of Hadassah. Hadassah is the women's Zionist organization, part of the women's organization that created this hospital. It's really fascinating how the early women of this country created essentially the health and welfare services of the country. So we're very lucky to have Jorge with us, and our good friend of the UAE-Israel Business Council, and the guy who basically knows everyone, Shefer, who is a professional with many, many years in the region, in software development, in business, in creating connections, and we're very lucky to have Gal with us. And I see also my friend Bruce Gerfine, businessman in the region for many years, and one of the first to create the health collaborations between Israel and the UAE. So let's start with our guests, and let's ask them a general question before we get into the nitty-gritty. I want to start with Professor Yoram Weiss. Professor Weiss, where do you see, in a few minutes, where do you see the synergies between the healthcare sector in the UAE, in Israel? Where do you see that? You're on mute.
Hi, everybody. Having been actually to the area already twice, I should say that I was extremely impressed by the infrastructure that I've seen there. And for this reason, and having met also a few senior UAE delegates here in Israel, and physicians and also administrators, I think we should understand that there's the collaboration is, first of all, a collaboration that comes out of equality. The other thing is that I think there are issues where Israel can learn from the UAE. And I think what we should do is look at three pods, and that's the way we usually look at Hadassah, at our organization. And this is the clinical field, then the teaching, and thirdly, the research and development. And I think in each one of these, we can share our expertise and we can see the collaboration growing as time goes by. However, and I agree completely with the person that spoke before, I think that the most important is really understanding that it's not something that you sign an agreement and it goes on. You need to understand that if you commit, you need to commit fully committed in this area. And saying that, it can be either in exchange in medical issues, say people coming over here or Israelis going over there in order to work and find solutions for problems we have. Secondly, creating research collaborations. And when it comes to teaching, having people from the UAE come to Israel either in order to specialize or in order to foster and develop their understanding. And I think we can also go over there and learn, because I think we have, as Israelis, we have a lot to learn about the region, about the problems the region is facing, which we don't know.
Could we mute everyone, please, except for Yoram? Thank you. Go ahead. Sorry, Professor. Mute. Let's not mute the professor.
I said I'll stop here and I'll let others talk.
No, please finish your sentence, Professor Weiss.
No, it's fine. I said that the importance is basically to understand, and I'll end in what I started. I think there are a lot of issues. I think the understanding is that all the fields are open. There's a huge possibility for cooperation in many, many areas, but it needs to be really, you need to go to the nitty-gritty of each one of these issues, and you need to understand where to create the support and how to develop it. And you need to invest in it a lot of time, because these are things that don't happen from one day to the other. You need really to understand how to do it in a long-term commitment.
Thank you so much, Professor Weiss. Dr. Richter, you're head of innovation for Abu Dhabi, essentially. Where do you see those areas of innovation collaboration that have been opened up, the opportunities that have been opened up with the Abraham Accords in this type of health sector collaboration?
Yeah, first of all, thank you. I'm really glad to be part of today's afternoon, seeing friends and colleagues on screen, hopefully very soon in person as well. I mean, there are plenty of collaborations, some of them already highlighted, but what I feel from my perspective, the world changing very much, and those old and traditional innovation ecosystems that have driven healthcare throughout the last, I don't know, 50 years or even more, are quite slow and quite complex. And I think Israel, as well as the UAE, as smaller countries, but much more agile, have a great opportunity of changing the world, which will for sure not only relate to healthcare and life sciences. And now, of course, it has been highlighted already. It's important to go into details. I mean, it's not about I do my benchmarking exercise on Google or somewhere, but I really need to talk to partners in Israel and the other way around to learn from each other. There is, of course, innovation, which is important. I mean, we have, I think the challenges are even very similar for us in Abu Dhabi and the UAE is, of course, the field of oncology, with our Emirati genome project, hopefully delivering a lot of data and things we can utilize to make healthcare better and more personalized. Then we have those chronic diseases, genetic diseases, orphan drugs, and other things. I mean, plenty of areas. I think the most important thing, and that's what I really appreciated throughout the last 2 years, is really getting connected and then starting to discuss. And sometimes looking at Galit, at Gal and others, just getting each other's perspective on certain things is very important. You know, sometimes you feel like you have your tunnel view since you're always working in the same environment, and this close relationship between Israel and the UAE helps a lot to understand, to see how you have done certain things, hopefully also learning one or the other thing from us. And for us as a smaller country, whatever we do, and we try to drive healthcare, not just react to things, it's always looking to partners across the world, to the west, to the east. And so this very close relationship, working with startups, with healthcare providers from Israel and the other way around, helps a lot to understand and to find solutions. And then those are two markets, maybe quite similar in very many ways in terms of population, but still two different markets. So there's also a lot of opportunity for startups, for smaller companies. I mean, the big corporates will find their way anyway. There's not much we can do, but for the smaller ones, we need partners, platforms to create solutions on both sides. And I think that's something we should follow on.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, the proximity of the countries, speaking on a regional perspective, not just distance, but also, you know, the very similar genetic issues that we sometimes see and go through, you know, it reinforces the fact that there's so much more that unites us than what divides us, unfortunately, including health challenges. Galit, I want to speak with you because you've actually just signed a cooperation agreement. And I want to hear a little bit where you, heading up Maccabi Innovation and Development, where you saw the opportunity and what exactly it is that you've signed now.
Okay, so first of all, we've signed multiple agreements with some countries, not only in the UAE, also with Bahrain, and there are more to come. So I'm very happy to say that. To be honest, I've been walking around the region, the UAE, for the last at least 18 months now, and I can only support what the others before me said. Things takes time. It takes time to get to know how the health system is built. People are always asking me, what is the similarity between Israel and between the United Emirates? And I'm saying, first of all, you need to understand that within every emirate, there's a lot of difference. You first need to learn how every health system in the emirate, the difference between Dubai and Abu Dhabi, they are totally different. So for us, the first thing that we decided to do is to learn the territory as well as we can, and to find the correct partners to team up with, and the correct people. And we just started to develop a relationship between those people. The agreements that we've signed, as you said, they were just signed these recent months, but our projects already started. So first of all, we learned. Second of all, we dedicated the people that we want to work with. At the end of the day, the collaboration, if we want a project to be successful and to be a long-term, and research is development is all about time. It's not something that is fast. We need to choose the right people. We need to find the right people that want to collaborate, that have the same incentive as we do. And I think that is the major reason to work with the United Arab Emirates, because it's a small market, but they are very innovative, same as Israelis. They have the same passion to do things. The agenda is to bring the whole and good health to their residents, and that is something that is common, not only in the United Emirates. We do it with many other countries, but after the Abraham Accords, it was a great opportunity to start to collaborate with new markets that we didn't have access to them before. So we signed just lately we signed, but we started working at least 1 year ago with different health companies in Israel, in the Emirates. The agreement was signed with G42, a very big company in the UAE, in Abu Dhabi, with SEHA, which is a very big health organization that is a bit similar in Maccabi, but in different numbers. We have strong collaboration with the DOH. Dr. Dirk is a great partner. Also collaboration in Dubai with the Dubai Health Authority, and there are more to come.
This sounds very, very exciting, and well done for really going around and doing the most important thing, which is getting there, learning, like Aviad was saying right at the beginning, with a little bit of humility to try and figure out who the right partners are. And I'll never forget 2 years ago when I was my second time in the UAE, and I'd taken my family, and I was in the middle of the desert doing a desert tour. And I bump into my friend Bruce Gerfind, who's there with a bunch of doctors from Tel HaShomer, which was one of the hospitals actually that signed one of the first health collaborations. Bruce, tell us a little bit about that, because I know that you were the leading force behind that very first real collaboration in health.
Oh, first, it was thank you for hosting me on this lovely gathering. I think what was really important was when the Abrahamic Accords were first signed, everyone was looking for a way to cooperate. Sheba showed up and they said, what are the missing points? What are the medical issues that you're dealing with? What would be something that would make sense, not only from a, wait, this is two families coming together, but rather from a financial point of view. With the assumption that things that don't have the right financial backing for them won't make it in the long term. Evaluated different aspects, and we started off with the first aspect that was diabetes. Diabetes is in general a large issue in the UAE and the GCC, but at the same time, it's something that doesn't require relocating doctors to the UAE. The whole process of licensing, which is still in the working and still not completely finished between Israel and the UAE, and specifically as Galit had mentioned, every emirate has its own legislation and its own registration. So even if doctors are approved to work in Ras Al Khaimah or in Abu Dhabi, they're not necessarily approved to work in Dubai. So being able to provide remote medical services and remote medical clinics to the doctors from Israel, utilizing the expertise that was built over the years there, and at the same time, the advanced technology available in the UAE was really what they were looking for. We faced several issues and several milestones that had to be taken care of. The basics with the doctor's licenses was probably one of the easier things, because everyone knew that that would require a bunch of government bureaucrats to do things and sit in front of each other and talk to each other until hopefully one of these days they'll figure it out. The big issues was going into the insurance companies and trying to explain to the insurance companies why they had to increase their budgets and change their budgets and no longer look at it as something, as a treatment that they were looking at locally for the remote medicine that is available today, and why they would have to increase. Where would the increase come from? Why would we changing their budgets? And I found that with several different medical products that we've introduced into the UAE. They may be amazing products, but when you start looking at the insurance and at the cost and the cost of the product versus the cost of the product that's currently available in the UAE, things have changed. Taking into account that a large amount of the hospitals here are either run by Indian groups or Indian investors backing behind them, some of the larger ones definitely. And a lot of the products that they're sourcing through the same services and the same platforms that they're already using in India to source the same platforms. And they're looking to achieve similar pricing. Insurance companies are looking at it saying, we've paid for this service X in the last 25 years. Why? What are the added values that you're bringing? And yes, you probably will in the long term by bringing better medicine or better newer technologies, reduce the amount or the needs of what these patients are needing. But that's going to be a large obstacle to introducing these new technologies.
Thank you so much, Bruce. That's really incredible insight. Which brings me to talk about really where we feel the exciting innovation is coming from, where are the opportunities. I'd like to ask Jorge, Diener, who is going all around the world representing Hadassah and the various collaborations. Jorge, where you're currently now, I know, in Mexico, organizing collaborations there. So what excites you? What is the new thing in healthcare innovation that excites you that you think could have synergies with the UAE and other Abraham Accords countries?
Thank you, Fleur. And, it's great to be here together with you after so many years, as you mentioned at the beginning, in different positions and in different places, but still trying to make the world a better place, even if it sounds a cliche. And I think, in a nutshell, I can say that what excites me always, it's how it's the mission of Hadassah, which, it's like we were born or created for moments like this, for the moment of the Abraham Accords and all opportunities open, because our mission statement basically says that our mission is to build bridges to peace through medicine. And that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're discussing here. At the end of the day, we can go into the nitty-gritty and, into what kind of business and how to do this or that. But at the end, that's what we're trying to achieve. And I think what most excites me is the revolution that is happening in healthcare and how Israel and the UAE can join forces together, not just for what we can share with each other, but how we can bring transformative solutions to the world. We are talking about an exciting development in healthcare where Hadassah Hospital is being pioneer in this field, which is how we are bringing healthcare into the community, how hospitals and medical centers, through telemedicine and through interaction with many parts of the civil society, create a new model of healthcare. It's a model that puts the patient at the center, which is what we do at Hadassah as part of our DNA, but also is putting the patient at the center with a global perspective. I think, as you mentioned, I travel the world all the time, working on collaborations between Hadassah here in Israel and different nations and different societies. And I see that incredible need for looking at the patient not just as a patient of one city, one nation, one country, but as a global patient. And I see this particularly in places where healthcare is not available. You mentioned I'm in Mexico right now, and I grew up in Latin America myself, and there are so many places where people don't have access to healthcare. And the incredible resources, and I'm speaking about human, financial, professional resources that a relationship between Israel and the UAE can bring to the table of bringing global solutions in healthcare and new models. I think this is what most excites me. I think bringing our forces together, rather than doing what naturally we'll do in many places. What are the needs in one country and in the other, and of course we will do that, and we see all this as an opportunity. But I think really what excites me is how we can bring this revolution in healthcare on a global scene, in the way that we bring our resources together and we develop innovation in healthcare together, Israel and UAE.
Thank you, Jorge. We have with us Gal, I introduced him earlier, VP of ezMedSoft. Gal, you've actually delivered a project in Abu Dhabi. Maybe tell us a little bit about how that worked, success, challenges, what you learned, so that we can share it with our audience, and share the models at work and what we should be wary of.
Absolutely. So I'm happy to participate in this event. I'll start with the story of bringing you more the technology startup angle in healthcare coming to the UAE. So ezMedSoft is a joint venture that was signed about 2 years ago between an Israeli company, Our Systems, and Al-Falasi family from Abu Dhabi. Our system for the past 30 years is delivering medical management software. Now, the CEO of our system has met Dr. Nawar Al-Falasi. She's a known dermatologist in Abu Dhabi. They met during an online business dating event, and she introduced to her brother, Khalaf Al-Falasi, who became our business partner and signed the joint venture with us. The name is ezMedSoft. This was signed about 2 years ago. And this became the first Emirati-Israeli EMR software. EMR is electronic medical records software. It's used for managing clinics and hospitals and manage the patient data. Now, the software is unique for being responsive for all devices. It's fully cloud-based. And now it's operative in UAE. But let me start about my personal journey. It started in 2020 when I first visited the UAE. I was invited to speak in a business event, and actually I also met you, Fleur. Dorian introduced us. We were in the opening of the Muslim Jewish Museum in Dubai, if you recall, which was a very exciting, successful event. And this was the very early days of Abraham Accords. It was still COVID days, and the Israelis were among maybe the only tourists in Dubai. Dubai was empty back then, and the feeling was excitement about all of this. And then David, the CEO of our system, asked me to perform a market research, just like Aviad advised, and do an all product market fit for this market. And we decided to open, together with Al-Falasi family, the activity in the UAE. And during the last 2 years, we built together a successful management team, engineering team. It's an hybrid team, both in Israel and in Abu Dhabi. And we managed to modify the whole software product to the UAE market. So the other sister of Khalaf, Miriam Al-Falasi, also joined the management team. And together we received all the approvals of DOH. So Dr. Dirk here is one of our partners. We passed the whole EdX regulation for cybersecurity. And we connected to Malafi, which is a connected data resource for the all EMRs in UAE, in Abu Dhabi. And these days, we are very happy and excited to share that we delivered a full project to the first client in Abu Dhabi.
Amazing, Gal. And what would your advice be to people, entrepreneurs like you, wanting to, deliver and develop medical collaborations between Israel and the UAE or Bahrain?
Well, I can give a few tips from our experience. The first tips is go to Abu Dhabi. It's more local. It's very friendly. There's a lot of government support there. From there, go to Dubai and the rest of the GCC, the other Emirates and the rest of the GCC. So start small, build it up. Build a strong management team, a strong technical team. We believe in diversity. So our teams are equal of women and men. We believe also in hiring different ethnicities. So we have people from India, Israel, UAE, and other ethnicities in our team. We believe in creating essential partnerships. It's really important, just as Aviad mentioned. Aviad helped us a lot, the embassy, of course, the council. We are in great relationship. Department of Health, Abu Dhabi, DHA Dubai, and many others that help and support us in the journey. We believe in sharing the information. So Galit here is a good friend, a colleague of mine. We're always introducing people to each other. We help each other. We met in a delegation in Abu Dhabi, actually. My biggest tip is make a very good market research, learn the regulations in the market, perform a deep product market fit, know where you're going to. It's a long-term relationship. with the country, not only with one person. Visit the country, meet the people face to face, have coffee with them, hummus, gain the trust, and be patient for the result. It takes time. As Aviad mentioned, you need budget of at least 2 years. And actually, the Israeli government really helped us with giving us smart money, Kesef Chacham. They gave us a grant for the activity in the UAE, which really supported the marketing, sales efforts in the country. And maybe my last tip is come with no ego. It's no longer the Israeli brand. It's a GCC brand now. It's a different market than you met before. It's not Europe, it's not the USA, it's all different. And you need to learn this market and you need to deliver the product.
Thank you, Gal. Dr. Richter, would you agree with that? Would you add, what other tips would you add in terms of also the challenges between dealing with two different healthcare systems? Would love to hear your recommendations.
I mean, based on the experience Gal shared, of course, this is absolutely true. I think what we see quite frequently in this market, and this resonates to what he stated, there are many people, not from Israel, but for a long time, who come here who think they can just take their business model, the brand, whatever you already mentioned, taking it to the UAE. And I think you have similar experience in Israel. Like looking at those smaller countries, like we come from the US, from any bigger country, we just bring our brand, expect everybody you will cheer and say, yes, that's what we need. That's what we're working for the last 40 years. Good that you came now, and will pay prices much higher than anybody else across the world. And this is one of the experiences we have over here. A number of people coming here, the greatest idea in the world now. First of all, I need you to fund, and then let's see. I think this is really, I think probably this is true for almost any new market you want to enter. Really having this patience to really create something sustainable, to learn about the market, to connect to the local system, and then I think if you gain trust and also learn about the market, then you will be successful. And that's something we see very frequently. People come from abroad coming here and believing they can just sell what they sell at home, don't customize to the local needs. I assume that's nothing that's very specific for Abu Dhabi or the UAE, but it would be the same in Israel. I think you also see a lot of people coming thinking, oh, it's just one step to the side, entering this market, being successful, and then the next one. So I think that's whatever you do, it's very important to learn about the local market, and looking at the UAE, which does not make things very easy. Gal already highlighted as well. I mean, there's a huge difference between Dubai and Abu Dhabi and other Emirates. If you look at the small market, and then you have another at least 3 different ecosystems and markets and healthcare systems, again, that somehow have similarities but are still quite different. That makes things, of course, even more complex for people coming from abroad. And that's what we try to mitigate as a government, helping at least to enter the ecosystem and giving some support. But
and what specifically would you, first of all, we invite you to come to Israel as our guest, of course, Jerusalem. And you've got here the professor of one of the biggest health hospitals and health organizations in the country. What would you come to visit if hopefully Professor Yoram Weiss would host you here in the city? What would you want to see here? And then Professor Weiss will tell us what he has to show us.
Well, first of all, I will come by the end of November. Health IL week. So, and some more days. So hope to see a lot and meet a lot of you in person. I think what I would like to learn, and I had got some insights, but only from far away, what Maccabi do, is this interaction between research, innovation, and healthcare. I mean, it doesn't help you incubate startups, and they don't really add any value to patients or to economy, the other way around. And I have been a trauma surgeon for some years. Sometimes you feel it's some time ago, but still all kind of innovation, digital makes your life even more complex. It's hard enough to take care of your patients, but then innovators come and disrupt the way you do healthcare. And so I think this way of how you integrate innovation, startup, I'm not talking about the next generation of MRI or something, but really about the solutions in daily life. That's something I would like to learn, since this is, I think, key to be accepted in healthcare. You have to add value, of course, and also in daily life of treating patients. That would be something that I'm really interested, how the big Israeli healthcare facilities and the hospitals manage to integrate all this. Yeah.
That's really wonderful. And I'm just a little plug to my city. We, the city of Jerusalem, created a biohouse, a hub of digital health, mainly digital health innovation at Professor Weiss's wonderful hospital. Professor Weiss, you heard from Dr. Richter the things he's looking for. What insights do you have to share with us about that intersection between clinical innovation and dealing with everyday patients?
I think Hadassah has one big advantage, and this is the fact that we have, Hadassah, and it was mentioned here before, that we were putting the foundations for the healthcare system in Israel. And we are also, we own 50% of the School of Medicine. So I think what makes Hadassah really special is what we call the revolving door, which is really the close collaboration between the School of Medicine and the hospital, where all of us are also involved in the School of Medicine and research. I myself, I was a researcher. And the fact of the matter is that that's the important thing, because you have a platform that allows you to transition from the bench, which is where you start your small experiments, to the translational research, which is where you move to larger animals and to animal studies. And then at the end, you have the platform to do it on the patients. And all this in one place. And as was mentioned here, we have both an R&D department, which is supporting that, and we have also a tech transfer company, which in collaboration with the municipality of Jerusalem, opened the hub, which is basically a platform that is allowing us to take small companies, incorporate them into the hospital. Now, they may be companies that grow within the hospital, started with patents that started in the hospitals, or patents that we identified that are interesting for the healthcare and for us, and we invited them to join us so that they can grow and receive services from us, from our physicians, in order for them to be able to then go out to the funds and really receive the support they would receive in order to continue to develop their startup. So in fact, these are small companies that really are at the budding stage of their development, and we take them into our hub in helping them to grow, into allowing them then later to receive support and funding from large organizations. And this was this is a very, very successful model. And as was mentioned here, I would be delighted to meet you in Jerusalem and show you what we've been done. And I think it has been also demonstrated both financially over the past few years, and also in the fact that we are in the number of competitive grants that the hospital has been granted over the past few years. We're showing that this is really a very, very good model that is working.
Thank you very much, Professor Weiss, and I'm sure that we'll organize that for when Dr. Richter comes to visit. Galit, you're in the business of delivering daily health services in the community, which is a little bit of what Jorge was telling us earlier. What do you think you can learn from the way things are done in Abu Dhabi, from Dr. Richter, or the UAE in general? What can Maccabi learn from the UAE and their delivery of health services?
Well, when we were in Abu Dhabi on May, I think, we toured through a few hospitals. We were at a branch of Mayo Clinic. We were at G42, and we saw their amazing abilities of the laboratory and the sequencing. I think we were overwhelmed of the way that they are managing their ability to sequence different genetic samples, the way that they are dealing with the biobank. The hospital in which we visited it was amazing. It was like 5-star hotel with all the facilities that we, in some parts of the country, we can only envy. So there's a lot to learn. We see that they invest a lot. As I said before, we have a lot in common because both of the countries are looking to be very innovative. They want to bring the best and the good health for their residents. It doesn't matter if they are local, if they are immigrants from other countries. They are really interested to lead and to be to bring a top health to everyone. So all the things that they are doing are things that we need to learn. We need to learn how they did things so fast. I mean, in just a few years, they built from scratch such an extraordinary place with so much facilities. It's just amazing to look at it.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. And I think the general misconception at the beginning of the Abraham Accords from the Israeli side is, oh, we're the innovators, and we can take our innovation to the Gulf. And of course, in the UAE, they've been busy building up incredible networks and systems. So I think there's a lot of collaboration, a lot that we can learn from each other, and with goodwill and with time, building up those bridges is an essential part of course, creating peace and creating the atmosphere for peace, a real peace from the ground up. What I think I'm going to do now is open up the floor to questions, unless one of our guest speakers would like to add something that hasn't been added. I'll open the floor to questions. Please, anyone, feel free to ask one of our speakers any particular questions. Otherwise, we'll just have some closing words. Any questions, anyone?
I do.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, calling in from Boston, actually, another hub of innovation, to be sure.
That's
and
right.
As someone who's lived in Israel and also visited UAE this past year, very exciting. I wonder if there's a place for US and even diaspora Jewish community to engage and support these partnerships and collaborations, and if so, how?
So thank you for that question. I think it's a very incredible question. Galit is going to help us answer it. From what I can tell you from my perspective here from Jerusalem, I know that the US is still very much engaged in the Abraham Accords, believe in the triangulation relationship of the Abraham Accords. And us at the UAE-Israel Business Council and the Gulf Israel Women's Forum are very closely connected to the US Embassy here in the capital and advancing many different projects with them. Galit, give us a little bit of insight on the triangulation with the US in the medical field.
So the first project that we started with was a project on vitamin D deficiency, which is a medical situation which is very common in the region and also in Israel. And we partnered with G42 and we submitted to a grant that is located and it's been sponsored by the US government. So that was the first thing that we did. We are still looking for different opportunities. As we all know that everyone thinks that all the money is in the United Arabs and they don't need any sponsorship and they can do research. They also need the opportunity to submit to different grants in the US, in the Horizon calls, and they are just blocked of doing it. And that is,
that sounds makes sense. Jorge, you're going around the world opening collaboration. Do you see triangulation between the Hadassah Jewish community around the world, UAE, Israel? How do you see that?
Absolutely. We have, we are lucky that, we have built over the many years a very strong network of friends and supporters around the world, internationally and the United States too. And these are people who are supporting the whole philosophy behind the Abraham Accords. So getting, once we have clear projects of collaboration that add up and bring value to this idea of bringing health, and creating bridges to peace, as we say. It's I wouldn't say it's easy because it's never easy, but this is very compelling to our people. So I do see that opportunity, and I see Hadassah Hospital, HW Israel, the Hadassah Women Organization, Science Organization America, and Hadassah International collaborating with many partners in Israel, in the UAE, and around the world to make this happen.
Well, I think that Hadassah is probably one of the few organizations, as well as Maccabi, of course, with that type of infrastructure to be able to be a convener of these collaborations and bring everybody in. Any more questions?
Yes, if I may.
Yes, Masha?
Yes. Hi, my name is Masha Zavin. I'm the marketing manager of Hadassah, the technology transfer company of Hadassah Hospitals. And I will ask a question about the field of biotech, of biomedical startups, and the point where we could basically create mutually beneficial collaborations between companies in Arab Emirates and Israeli medical systems. I'm sure that Galit also will be able to share her experience, but I'm coming from my little space. We're very much involved at Hadassah with collaborations with companies abroad. And actually we were struggling to understand what would be the platform to bring in the information about the facilities and opportunities of collaborations between researchers and physicians at Hadassah, and even our startup development platforms like Hadassah Accelerator, because we're very much trying to find the connector would be the right,
Thank you, Masha. Dr. Richter, could we create a joint accelerator between Israel and the UAE, led by our friends here in Hadassah?
Absolutely. I mean, we are moving more towards biotech and life sciences in Abu Dhabi from this beginning, where you more look at digital so just one example, we sent a full delegation led by UH chairman to Bio San Diego some month ago in June. So we've spent 2 weeks in the US, in DC, in Boston, to learn a little bit about how they built the ecosystem. And then we were the first Arab country to go to Bio San Diego to really have a booth of our own, the first country in the entire region. Now, this is our strategy, and there's full support for everybody coming and establishing some partnership in the UAE. I mean, we know we need to build some infrastructure for biotech startups to come, but I mean, we are quite strong in building something when somebody challenges us. It's much easier to have a clear challenge, to have you as a partner saying, in order to make this happen, I'm of Abu Dhabi, we need you to do ABC, and then it will happen for sure, and much quicker than elsewhere. So of course, we are really open for partnerships, and before doing huge investments in something, we need the knowledge and the requirements and partners like you. So this is how we suggest to get started, and then I can, of course, ensure full government support, and I think from all the partners in the ecosystem as well. So we're highly welcome. Let us discuss this. And Department of Health is not just a regulator. We love to be called enabler of things. So for us, it's really important to help you to establish something patients as well as both countries can benefit from. And again, Department of Health and myself are, of course, the first partner to talk to, and then we can help you to connect to what.
Thank you, Dr. Richter. I think you're going to be very busy when you get here next month. A question from Huda Rafael. Yes.
Yes. Hi, Fleur. How are you doing? So great to actually, really attend this Zoom call.
Where are you joining us from?
I'm joining from Abu Dhabi. Actually, I'm former Ambassador Mark Siever's wife. But my background is clinical trials. So I used to work in the US and hospitals and pharmaceutical industry in clinical trials. And this is really amazing. So my question actually is, about a platform. We lived before in Oman and a couple of other Arab countries, but during COVID, we were in Oman. And I know one of the head of the hospital said to me That's one of the challenges they faced at that time during COVID time, is when there was a question that popped up from one of the doctors in the ICU units. There was no platform to ask doctors in the US or ask doctors somewhere else in the world. So I think, since we have Dr. Weiss with us, and Dr. Richter with us, and Mr. Shefer with us, the thought is there a thought about really building a platform where, in case of medical emergency or not even medical emergency, like let's say oncology cases. I used to work in oncology before. Oncology cases where doctors need help or need some guidance, and is there a platform that's being created or will be created to really kind of discuss these issues, especially in cases of crisis like Corona?
Dr. Huda, you're talking about a community, a platform where the medical community can interact, or you're talking about a research platform?
No, actually, at this point, I'm talking a platform where it's specialty can talk. Let's say during Corona time, it was ICU doctors who needed to know how to manage a certain case, while in Israel probably was a similar case that was managed previously, and they saw how to manage it. I think
that's a great idea.
Yeah, or oncology, for example, can we create a platform for oncology? So this is one question. The other question is, again, for Mr. Shefer is, are there apps for patients? Like, one of the challenges we faced in medical research when I was in the US is really getting the feedback from the patient. It used to be the nurse. Though now there's a lot of electronic, collection of data. But again, I think having a simple app where the patient can document what they feel about a certain medication during the day or during the month or whatever, it's make it easier for the patient, easier for the doctors, and easier to collect it as data collection. So just all thoughts there, to kind of, since we have such wonderful minds here to really discuss and think about.
Can I address the issue?
Yes, please, in a few short sentences. We have a couple more questions, and we're almost getting to the hour, which is incredible how time flies when you're having fun. Yes, Professor Weiss.
I'll be very, very brief. I fully agree. I fully understand what my colleague just brought up. And I should say that what happened with us is that during COVID, we realized very, very quickly that there was not a central point where we could get all the information. So what we created is a committee in the hospital. And we are a relatively large hospital. We took all our specialists in the field of COVID, from intensive care through internal medicine, through infectious disease, and everybody. And this was a therapeutic committee, and they set every 2 weeks and issued a protocol to treat COVID. And actually through Hadassah International, where my friend Jorge is here, we distributed it in English, in Russian, and in Spanish all over the world. So it was funny when we were sent by the Israeli government to Argentina to assist them, we discovered that they're using our protocols when we are there. I think that what you're saying is something that needs to be addressed. I'd be happy to join such a thing. I think it's very, very important, because we saw during COVID, when there's suddenly a new event that is happening, we were lacking the guidance and the information. We had a lot of literature that was published. Not all of it was really adequate and should have been addressed as it is. And that's what we did in our committee, which was a hospital committee, that we submitted it and then shared it with our colleagues all over the world. So that's what I want to say. Thank you.
Well, I think we have a model here. Gal, a couple of minutes.
Just to add to what Yoram said, and just to bring the UAE perspective, recently Malafi, that presented by the OH years ago, has started a new application for the patients. So the patients can access their own records and see the data. So that's a big step. It was announced recently in GITEX. And we are, as an EMR, are connected to Malafi, connected to Nabid in Dubai. So in Israel, we deliver many telehealth and home care products. I think what your question is an opening for creating a telehealth platform.
I think Hood has given us a challenge here, and I think it's up to this incredible community to rise to that challenge, because this really is a fantastic idea for this type of collaboration. 2 more quick questions. Drew Coben, I see your hand is up. Welcome back to Jerusalem. I know you're here. Drew is a businessman from LA.
Hey, Fleur. It's great to hear. I just put it into the chat. Are there industry benchmarks that can be modeled for cross-collaborative work? Because a lot of the questions are hitting upon the same things: real-time exchange of data, potential solutions. But the question that continues to pop up as I'm listening as an entrepreneur is, are there models out there already that you can look at to say, here's how these other countries have addressed sharing of information, with the potential of either there are solutions that exist or there are solutions that can be brought to bear that can be looked at, or does this has to be created essentially from scratch?
Drew, it's a great question. I see it even as a challenge question that I'm assuming we can have a half an hour answer to that question. I'm assuming there are these benchmarks and our experts here are already engaged in that. And if there isn't, then somebody certainly should create one. And Amika Mehta, I see your hand is up, and I think you'll be our last question. I'm sorry, James. I mean, look, if you guys want to continue, I've got nowhere else to be. So you just let me, I see people are dropping off. And Amika, yes, please.
Hi, I'm based in Dubai, and my background is in genetics, molecular applied and clinical genetics. So Dr. Rick, I had two questions actually for everyone. Dr. Rick, I would like to know how to reach you for the work on oncology and genetics that's going on in Abu Dhabi, because I have lived here for 20 years and I found it very difficult to reach out to people who were in this space. So this is my issue.
Well, I'm glad the Abraham Accords came along in order to connect people in the same country, but that's part of the beauty of what we're doing here. I'm sure Dr. Richter will share some email details. There you go. And James, quickly, I don't like leaving anyone else.
One more question.
Oh, sorry, Annamika, go ahead.
That's
yes.
okay. So my father is recently diagnosed with, potentially, there's 1% chance it's not prostate cancer, but it's likely to be prostate cancer. So what Huda mentioned about the platform where we can interact and we can innovate. So I was thinking of putting together a group of scientists where we can come up with the best doctors or best scientists and the best protocol, because what we face, he's in India, what we are facing, everyone has different suggestions, and there is no protocol in the medical world, and this is the process ahead, and this is the best practice, because we don't know whether radiotherapy will work, whether immunotherapy will work. And my background being, I have actually worked on stress response genes. So I know the limitation that today's medical treatment for cancer has. So this is the other question for the entire panel. So outside,
I think that if something really, really good, positive, and practical to come out of this webinar, I think is the need for this collaboration of experts in the different medical verticals. I think Huda's raised an incredibly important point, and Amika feels an absolute need for this. So let's talk offline about how us at the UAE-Israel Business Council with our colleagues here, Hadassah, Maccabi, Tel Shomer, etc., how we can actually, with Dr. Richter, put that together between our countries. I think that could be a very positive and practical, result coming out of this webinar. James, quickly before we finish, James Ruiz.
Sure. I'm James Ruiz. I'm actually here. I'm an American. I'm actually working as a director of corporate development for a company here called Via Medica International Healthcare. And I guess with Dr. Rick online, I'm living here in Abu Dhabi, and from the Abraham Accords, I do recall from the very beginning that, as you said earlier, that people thought the streets were paved with gold and they were coming here for FDI outbound. But my experience from all these meetings was that there were a lot of Israeli companies coming in seeking capital and wanted to export it back to in-country to Israel, when the opportunity was to bring those companies here, build install capacity in the local domestic market, which is job creation, and generates a multiplier effect for employees and employers across the board. So I've seen that change now. And at the same time, I want to just compliment Gal on this, it's an ezMedSoft. I'm actually using the Malafi app. I have it on my phone, and I think that that's excellent. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. And for Dr. Dirk at DOH, listen, I work with the DOH quite a bit. I know people there, and I have to tell you that they're a wonderful organization to work with. My experience there is they've got a strong bias for action. They want to get things done. I've had several meetings with them, and they're always willing to listen. In fact, I've got proposals into them now. So my point is that they're really predisposed to try and get things done and to assist. And if there's any assistance that you guys ever need, I'm happy to help as well.
Thank you very much, James. It's a wonderful way, actually, to summarize. I want to thank our wonderful experts. This has been an incredible, incredible panel with really interesting insights and even some very concrete areas of collaboration with some very big leaders here on our panel. So I'd like to thank Gal Shefer, VP of ezMedSoft, Galit, Perez, Head of Innovation for Maccabi, our very own Professor Yoram Weiss from Hadassah, Jorge Diener, my friend Bruce Gerfind, and of course, Dr. Dirk Richter. Did I leave anybody out? Thank you, everyone. And please, thank you very much to our wonderful team at the UAE-Israel Business Council, Salome Zashbert, Tamir Naveh, who put all the logistics together, and of course, my co-founders, Justine Zwelling here, Dorian Barak, Isaac Hassan. It's been wonderful having you all. We do these events almost every month and a half. We focus on different verticals each time, different areas of business. If anybody has any ideas, reach out. Also, we have a very robust online platform of membership, www.uae-israelbusiness.com. Here we are. I encourage you all to join our platform because you will be getting monthly newsletters as well as annual journals with really the best and the top minds of the Abraham Accords involved. So we are very, very lucky to have all of you with us today. Thank you very much and good health to everyone. Thank you.
Fleur, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Great event. Fleur, I'd like just to invite everybody to meet us next month in Israel Elif Innovation event. Dr. Rick will be there, Dr. Nawal.
Wonderful.
There is a big delegation from UAE coming. It's in the 30th of November. Come and join us, and inshallah, we'll be visiting Jerusalem as well with the Emiratis and meet you there.
You better. All right, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you so much. It was great.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Phil.